Hey guys, and welcome to the SPL Recap, Week 6, Day 3. My name's Gormizer, I'm a flying squirrel, and I got Mifflin, who's a lemur, and then PandaCat, who, guess what he is?
I'm a dog.
He's a dog. He's got that dog in him.
Dog roof.
We're going to try to recap, and I say try for a very deliberate reason, the sets today, because we just watched the Leviathans with a 3-2 win over the Ravens. That's fresh in the memory. Not so fresh in the memory, Mifflin, is the one that you get to try. Hounds 3-1 over the Gladiators. Now I remember Kiri
Quadra.
He got a Quadra.
That's right.
He played Daji and it looked real good too.
Yeah, so if you're a big Kirmi fan, make sure you tune in for specifically his Daji game. If you're a big Glads fan, don't tune in for any other games that set because it's all Hounds all the way. I thought they looked good out there.
Yeah.
It is difficult to remember the specifics considering I'm in a onesie today, not wearing my watch like 8 hours ago, but for the most part, I feel like they were generally pretty back and forth games.
Yeah.
They all went around that 30 some odd minute mark, so you get good back and forth on the objectives. Team fights tend to go the distance, but in that team fight phase, historically has been where the Gladiators have struggled, so they struggle here once more. Not a whole lot of time left till Worlds. They got to clean that stuff up.
And that's where they're going to be looking, right? We've had that kind of conversation, but a lot of it for Glads right now, where they're set in the standings, there's nowhere to rise. They will be waiting a couple months after this next week before we get to see them again. No playoffs appearance for them. And so question marks as to what we're going to see when we get to see them, not next week, but the weeks after for what they have to offer. Much more recently, PandaCat, you guys get a 3-2 win over the Ravens.
Barely.
And so, yeah, that's
for real barely.
A couple of those games don't go so hot for you guys. And I'm going to zone in. We'll start with the bad first, right? Game 4. There's a deicide against you guys. And then the next fight starts up, there's another deicide against you guys. And then the next fight starts up and it's a 4-man wipe. What's going through your minds? Like, what are the calls for those moments and why do things go so wrong?
I'd say with this meta of smites, mage solo inners and just a lot of damage, fights tend to, go either overwhelmingly good or overwhelmingly bad. And you can really snowball quite easily just by winning a single fight. In game 4 in particular, I think we just really fumbled our draft, kind of picked like, in my experience in the Pro League, sometimes when things are meta, people will just kind of get baited into picking them without thinking about why we're even picking them. And I think we fell into that trap a little bit that game, where we kind of just fumbled the drafts a little bit. Like, it was still a winnable draft, but wasn't really our identity, and we kind of were just like, well, this is up, probably should take it or they take it, and then you kind of get trapped in that situation. So we weren't too upset about the game in itself. Obviously, it kind of sucks to lose that game. But, you just kind of focus on the next game, figure out what went wrong, identify our core issues, which I think we did fairly well, and move on to Game 5.
And then win Game 5, right? And that's like kind of the big thing. You guys, the way that you played, there were even some drafts that we were like scratching our heads over sometimes when you locked them in. And then you can find okay on the Hercules, just absolutely going insane. Yep. You have a few objective steals. So I want to know, like, what's the team environment been like, especially here at the end of the phase?
It's been good. It's honestly been really good. Our scrims are horrible. Like
that's honestly in Smite history. That's like a good thing, right?
I'll keep it a buck. They told me Zap was the issue with scrims. I can highly deny that statement because our scrims are garbage, like straight up garbage. Scrims aside, I think we're all, we all mesh quite well. We all get along. We have a lot of fun together. So morale-wise and everything, we're very high. Practice-wise, not so great. So that's probably been a little bit of an interference with our ability to be the best team we can be. And it shows today in our set. We have like Kenneth doing some superhero plays, thinks it's still season 3. Like, let's wake up and smell some roses. We have Shinto.
This guy kills me, bro.
I mean, we have Shinto trying to 1v1 Zap as if this vendetta that they have against each other is even real. And, just like really what we call like rank game plays or scrim plays where it's like, what are we really doing? And I think, that's kind of prevailed a lot due to our lack of having sufficient and good practice. But past that, I think, everyone's very happy. We're second seed. Sucks we could have probably been first. Granted, we did get stomped about the sets we lost, but some off days happen.
Yeah, can't win them all.
Show up, lose 3-0 to the Dragons. That's how it be sometimes. That'll be.
All that matters is that the next time, if you play,
Yeah.
it's not a 3-0.
I
Or if
mean-
it is, it's for you.
Historically, as a player and a teammate, I've always been somebody who tries to identify things like pretty much immediately. And I don't really sulk in losses. I don't like, oh, dang, we lost. Like I got solo or something. Like, you know, things happen. It's not the end of the world. But it's really important for me to kind of convey my thoughts in the moment, because I think like right after you lose, if you're not tilted, you could really learn a lot. Like you can instantly learn like a million different things about just how people play, what people want to do against you, just the things that they show, because more often than not, when you lose in Smite, it's not necessarily a skill issue, but more of like they've out-strategied us in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like if you just kind of put the loss aside, acknowledge it was a loss, give the credit where it's due, but then you kind of pick it apart and learn from it, that's where I feel like that's where you get a lot of really important and vital information to winning.
And that's how you end up
Jeez,
going
I
from
sound like
the
a poet.
6th place team, then you pick up PandaCat, and now suddenly you're top 3, pushing top 2.
Pushing
and
B.
that conversation, and if he gets his way, it's not going to be pushing anymore. It's going to be number 1 at the very top. You get a 3-2 win, 3-1 for the Hounds over the Gladiators. But that's going to do it for this recap as well as for this week. So thanks for tuning in, and happy Halloween.